Hello and welcome. My name is Jonny and I'm the Senior Editor of Office Today. Right now, I'm very happy to be joined by Jack Fisher, who is the M365 Pre-Sales Consultant at Cloud Specialist Nasstar. He has 15 years experience in Microsoft 365 realm, helping enterprise organizations and managed service providers. Good afternoon, Jack.
Afternoon, Jonny.
Let's dive straight in with the elephant in the room. What is and where are we with Yammer now?
Sure. So Yammer's still very much here to stay at the moment. So last week, Microsoft announced Viva Engage. And with hybrid work, there's definitely a need for that social type of interaction at work. And Yammer is or was the place for that. But with Viva Engage, it brings it right into Teams. I know we had the Yammer community app in Teams before, but with this effectively being relaunched as Viva Engage, it brings a bunch of new features to it. Things like storylines, a profile page that people can follow. And while Yammer will be replaced in Microsoft Teams, it's still going to live on in the web, the native Yammer mobile apps. Viva Engage is intended to enhance the experience of Yammer communities in Teams and bring new capabilities to connect people and help them find a sense of connection at work. So it's here to stay. It's only going to get bigger and better. Will Microsoft totally rebrand Yammer at some point in the future? Who knows, but my guess is yes. A good way of looking at it is you could say that Yammer now contributes to employee experience more directly through Viva Engage.
Okay, so there's a lot going on with Viva. We've posted about 20 articles in the last month or so about all the changes. Why do you think Microsoft have so much confidence in the Viva platform?
Look, Viva's massive and Microsoft are right to have so much confidence in it. When the pandemic hit and people started working from home, it was a hyper quick reactionary thing, and businesses and their people had to adapt within a week or two, pivot to new technology that previously would have taken large enterprises months to implement, even years. So that's all settled down now, and basically hybrid work's just pretty much the standard now, and it's brought a whole lot of challenges with it. Lines of work and home life have been blurred, and people's ways of interacting and collaborating have changed massively. And that's where a strong employee experience platform comes in. Businesses that don't invest in this type of stuff are going to be losing out. With the job markets as they are and the great resignation, as people are calling it, people can now, they've got the ability to be able to pick and choose companies that really value that employee experience and work-life balance. So I think that's where their confidence is coming from, and they're right to have it.
So Viva is presenting us with a whole host of new integrations, engage topics, insights, sales, for example. Is there a danger, though, end users and leaders will get confused?
Yeah, there's definitely a danger of this, and the rate at which Microsoft are releasing new pillars and new features for Viva is staggering, and it's definitely hard to keep up with. But I think it's important to split the different areas of Viva into different pillars, as they probably shouldn't all be owned by the same department or leaders. Personally speaking, I think it's really interesting as it's opening up the conversation within businesses, as it's no longer just an IT play. Obviously, IT plays a big part in this, but it really needs that leadership sponsorship from places like HR, communications, sales, etc. And I think that actually has a really interesting side effect, that it's bringing departments together and making them collaborate in ways they haven't before, which can only be a positive. If you focus the Microsoft employee experience into 4 groupings, it's much easier to digest. So you've got connection, insight, purpose, and growth. So connection, this is going to be Viva Engage, Viva Amplify that they announced last week. Insights, this is Viva Insights, and then Viva Pulse, which again they announced last week. Purpose, this is going to be Viva Goals play, and then growth, that's Viva Topics and Viva Learning. And then you've got the role-specific experiences coming out with things like Viva Sales. And then Viva Connections will sit above all this and be like a hub to direct people to what's relevant. Again, it's all about empowerment of your employees, and it'll help different business units to work together. It's no small task to keep on top of all of this, but the benefits of a company really understanding the importance of it knows no bounds.
So being a tech journal, I want to making sound bites and statements, and One I have is that Viva is all about employee engagement and ultimately enterprise collaboration while trying to make work life more like real life. In your experience of the platform, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it definitely starts off like that, but I think it's much bigger than that now. But yes, absolutely. In fact, I think it's actually to help people have a better work-life balance. Some of the newest pillars are all about bringing meaning and direction to people, which is a really important thing with work. To keep you motivated and engaged and give you purpose, which is something I think most people strive for in real life. So I think there's definitely a mirror there.
So, in the wake of Microsoft's recent Work Trend Index report published last week, do you think employees and leaders are ready to live without or even blur the demarcations of hierarchy?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, this. And obviously, I think it depends on the business, but blurring the demarcations of hierarchy is definitely a good thing. And perhaps it's about empowerment of your employees. If people feel empowered to do a good job and let their expertise shine through, this can only be a good thing. But equally, a good leader, not a boss, should definitely a leader, should be inspiring. So having some form of hierarchy isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it can help people to have aspirations and following a great leader to do exceptional things. So yes, blurring the lines is a positive, but equally having a great leader at the top is of real importance.
So, talking about leaders, do you think Leadership Corner is something leaders will get into?
Yeah, I think they'd be foolish not to, especially for those larger organisations where lots of your employees have probably never met most of the leadership team. It's a way for employees to have a direct line of contact to their leadership. But not only that, it gives the leadership team stats and feedback points to see what sort of engagement they're getting. I think things like the Ask Me Anything feature looks really interesting. I could actually see that having a wider use case than just the leadership corner, but yeah, that's brilliant. In fact, I had a really interesting anecdote from a large enterprise client the other day. So their CEO shared their summer music playlist on a Yammer group, and it really took off and basically went viral within their organisation. So stuff like that really brings a more personal touch to the leadership team and makes them more relatable and starts discussions and human interaction through that virtual world.
Well, that sounds great. Um, there's a phrase going around at the moment, quiet quitting, where hybrid workers are only working their wage and no more. Do you think Viva Insights or Engage have solutions for this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and yeah, definitely Insights Engage can be a solution to this, depending on what way you look at it. But firstly, I don't like the phrase "quiet quitting." I don't think it should have that connotation of quitting attached to it at all. Really, it spins it in a really negative light. The notion of quiet quitting suggests a norm where people have to perform extra. Since the pandemic, people have realised what's important to them and that their work life isn't the be all and end all to things. Your work life should really complement your real life, and businesses shouldn't expect people to work more than what they're paid to do. I think the forward thinking companies and leaders realise that this and would actively encourage people to perform their job function within their contracted hours. If everyone's working every hour they have, never having downtime, then they sure as hell ain't being productive as they could be. So this is where Viva Insights can really help, as it can identify things like burnout risk, after hour collaboration patterns, help the organisation to combat this. It also helps companies see productivity drains. So are people spending their time during the day in long bloated meetings that aren't necessary, then having to work extra hours afterwards to catch up on this lost sunken time? The data is so powerful here, and it can have a really positive impact and actually mean that people quiet quitting isn't a bad thing as long as their time actually working is productive. Then it's win-win for both the employee and the company. Also, if we look back at the work trends index that we mentioned earlier, it shows a real disconnect between the leadership and their workforce. Microsoft coined the phrase productivity paranoia among leaders. So leaders are worried their teams aren't working enough, but actually the data and signals from M365 show employees are working more than ever. We all understand that businesses are under pressure to deliver successful outcomes, but scrutinising people's activity just isn't the answer. And Jared Spataro from Microsoft says, focus on outcomes, measure what matters, and listen to understand. And I think the piece around focusing on outcomes is really important, and it can create an environment where employees and the organisation can both flourish together.
Well, I thought I knew a lot about Viva, having written about it for the last 3 months, but I realised talking to you, I've only scratched the surface. And I think we can all be saved from long, bloated meetings. Um,
Yeah.
what are your forecasts for the coming conference, Microsoft Ignite, in mid-October?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Need to make sure we don't say anything that's under NDA at the moment, so we'll keep it high level. But the main
Okay.
theme is do more with less with the Microsoft Cloud. So it's going to cover a lot of stuff. I'd imagine there'll be some really interesting things around SharePoint syntax, search, content management, and how AI is going to really drive this forward. I think next gen collaboration with more things around the metaverse, perhaps VR capabilities in meetings and things, that will be really interesting if there's some announcements on that. Power Platform, cloud developing, that's going to have a big focus, I think. It's impossible not to mention security in the current climate, and I think the phrase protect everything, everyone, everywhere has been mentioned. So expect some really interesting new things to be announced within the security stack. We had quite a big announcement on Viva just last week, but there's no way it won't get some new features mentioned or what's coming on the roadmap. And then just lastly, not really a forecast, but one of the really great things about Ignite is the learning you can get from it. And a quote from Satya is, be passionate and bold, always keep learning. You stop doing useful things if you don't learn. So get signed up to it, learn some new things, and get ready for some big new announcements.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for talking with me, Jack.
Thanks.
I really appreciate your time. I've been talking with Jack Fisher of Nasstar, and you can find them at nasstar.com. That's Nasstar, and they are based in Poole in Dorset in the UK, with offices in Wakefield and Telford, London, and Malaysia. If you have any news or you want to get in touch, try us at team@officetoday.com. And for the socials, give us a follow, like, and a shout back on LinkedIn by searching Office Today News, and Twitter at Office Today News as well. Or you can try at Editor Jonny. That's Jonny without an H. I've been Jonny Wills. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode where we follow the digital workplace and the changing updates and features that carry on in that world. Thank you very much.